Utah, a beautiful state with great fishing. But I recently found out you can spearfish here, so we're going to give it a shot. We arrived to some rain and some storms, but Seth and I were willing to push on. We got our wetsuits on, got to this lake, and got ready. We're back out here in Utah. Gonna go dive in for some fish, hopefully some carp and some sucker. We got Seth, he's getting ready for the Worlds tournament, and we'll see what we can get some fish, hopefully some trout as well, but should be a good time. The first drop when we got here was a bit of a shocker to the system. So getting ready, and I take a drop out here, and I'm only in maybe 10 feet of water, maybe. And I quickly realize that we are no longer at sea level. My breath hold was pretty much non-existent, and this was going to take some getting used to for sure. And I've said it before, but I'll say it again, sometimes it's better to be lucky. And this was luck. A school of lake trout swam by, and I did not even need to dive down for them. I was able to secure a good size lake trout. Not a giant, but he was 22 inches. Super stoked on that guy. Taking another drop here on the grass, and usually when we're on the grass we're looking for carp, but as I'm heading down I look to the left here and I actually see a sucker swimming by. These are usually a little more skittish of a fish, but he swam straight in front of me and I hit the solid snipe shot with my Oceanammo Reef 110. Super stoked on that, and I'm able to pull up a decent sized sucker, not a big one, but a nice sucker right there. Another shallow dive here in maybe 10 feet of water and another school of sucker. And I hit another long shot with my Oceanammo Reef 110. Ended up securing another sucker here. But that was a pretty long range effort on that one. And you'll see me pulling him up right here. A little bit bigger than the last one, but still got some work to do. And this day, for some reason, the sucker were up shallow. Maybe it was spawn. I'm not 100% sure. I've never hunted them really before. And I take another drop here where I see them before I drop. It's not something I usually do in California, but I take a drop already seeing these guys, and I pretty much just dive bomb them as slow as I can. And I take a little longer shot because they're skittish, but I hit another solid shot on, this was more of a decent sized sucker. And you can see there, this is shallow water diving right now. Not very deep, more just practicing my shooting, but there is a good sized sucker. One fun thing about diving some of these popular swimming and fishing lakes is occasionally you may find some treasure. If you look down here, you will see a green tip of a fishing rod. So I actually end up getting a little fishing rod here. Nothing that I'll be able to use, but definitely scored something that I thought was cool. And it's always good just to get this trash out of the lake. But there we go. Caught a fishing rod. Definitely catch of the day right there. But I'm showing Seth it. He's working with the 3-prong because he's got the tournament coming up, but there's our little pole spear. On this drop, you can see me approaching quickly, and I scare away a sucker. I tried to dive bomb, but it was not very effective. But for some reason, this carp took interest, so that's an easy snipe. Perfect shot on that guy, and carp are not supposed to be in this lake, so it's always good to remove these guys. So did my part here, shot this guy, and he actually looked really cool. He had the scales of more like a mirror carp, not so much like a common. I'm sure he was a common, but super cool looking fish. A lot of times with these carp, you can kind of approach them slowly. Even if they're going away, they'll eventually turn and get curious, which is what happened on this one. I kind of spooked it, but then I approached slow, didn't give up, didn't chase that much, and he gave me a perfect opportunity at a shot here, and I land another decent carp. Taking another drop here on the edge of the weed line this time, and looking around for some more carp and trout, and I see what looks to be a carp sneaking out of the weeds right there behind this little brush. And I take a little bit of a longer shot, and I hit him, but he does actually end up coming off. So that kind of sucked, but I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes you lose them, But at least in this lake, everything we're targeting is invasive, so it's not a huge loss. Taking another drop here, and I see a little trout. And this is a small target, and I absolutely stoned this guy. Not a big trout at all, but good eating size, like 11, 12 inches. And it was a little brown trout, which is not something I've seen too much of in this lake. So that was a pretty cool catch. As I was talking to Seth, this school of 3 carp swim by, and I take a drop on this, and I take a bit of a longer shot, tried to lead him, and absolutely whiffed. This is probably a shot I shouldn't have been taking on a little downward angle, but it is what it is. And back out here again, no grass here, just straight rock. And I'm looking around trying to find anything that I can target. And it looks like some trout off in the distance here. So I line up a shot. And there it is. Boom. Another shot on another decent sized lake trout. This one also was about 21, 22 inches. Super stoked on that guy. So there he is. And taking a drop here on the grass line. This was a little bit deeper of a drop. But I'm looking at the trout, but I also see the sucker and carp off in the distance. And there were just too many options for me there, and I went back up. As I'm getting acclimated, I'm starting to push out a little bit deeper off the edge. And this is maybe a 20-foot drop, but it feels a lot worse in this altitude. But I'm trying to line up a dive bomb on this sucker, and I end up scaring him off into the depths and not getting a good clean look at this guy. I spot a sucker sleeping and just drop down and give him the old unicorn shot. Give him a horn right through the forehead. But honestly, if you could spot these guys sleeping, you could land quite a few. My cousin was basically diving 5 to 10 feet, and he was getting quite a few carp just in the grass. Taking another drop on the weed edge here, and we're seeing what we can find. I personally enjoyed diving on the edge of the weeds or a little deeper. I just didn't have a spotter today. But I see a carp there, and I take a longer shot, and I drilled this guy. That was a far shot with this gun, and absolutely smoked it. So you look down, this is and Seth's having fun with the pole spear there, shooting some perch, getting ready for his tournament. And then I got a decent sized sucker in on a long shot there in the grass. But yeah, I need to get better at holding him for the camera, but there he is. That is putting him on the stringer there. We take everything out of this lake. Here I am taking a little bit of a deeper drop here, but one of the main things that kept me from going out super deep was that once you hit like 20-ish feet, it kind of got hazy down there. And a lot of the carp and sucker today seemed to be up shallow anyway, so you didn't need to dive super deep. But I see some sucker off in the distance here, so I'm giving it a shot off in the depths. But you can see as I get deeper, the visibility starts to go. So head back up, and then we'll see if we can find anything a little shallower. So you can see the massive amount of life on the bottom here. There's just fish everywhere. So I'm giving it a drop, and I'm kind of sneaking up on this sucker way off in the distance, and I take a really long shot and actually end up missing that guy. But it is what it is, can't hit them all. Taking another drop, and we're looking for sucker and carp again. And like I said earlier, they're kind of up shallow. I think the visibility out deep might have been causing this, but they've been up in the grass pretty much the whole day. So we're looking around, and I see one off in the distance there, and this is a really long shot, and I thought I missed him, to be honest. But the best thing is when you start pulling on your Dyneema, and you can feel the fish coming up from the depths. So I actually hit this guy, and you could barely see him on the camera. So there he is, not a giant sucker, another medium to small size sucker. but super stoked on that shot. I was absolutely smacking him today with the spear gun. And here he is. I absolutely love when you can see him just cruising, because usually you can get a decent stock on him. So I'm sneaking down and I actually see a different one off in the distance, and I try a super long shot again. That was a bigger one, but I do not think I hit this guy. We'll see in a second. And I did not. Another drop, and then this guy just gave me too many options here, and then I end up sticking a big sucker. I tend to shoot the sucker more than the carp because I find them to be more challenging, so I took the little harder shot. But this was actually a good sized sucker. He was about 21 inches, and they are a blast to hunt because they do present a little bit more of a challenge than some of these carp do. And there he is. That's a decent one. Trying to point one out to Seth here. He's just learning how to dive in this. And there is an easy shot, and he absolutely whiffs it. Seth has been diving now a few times, but he's picking it up for sure. And we're out a little bit deeper here. Either that or the fizz is worse. And we're taking another drop. And we're heading down to the bottom. Not super fast, but we're looking around, and you can see a big sucker moving down there. We'll see if we can put a sneak on these guys, but not seeing him. These things just, they disappear into the grass, and you'll never see them again. So didn't see that guy. That was a bit deeper of a drop there, but did not end up getting one on that one. Oh, and you can see just a school of 3. It's so tempting to try the shot from the surface, but you know that the odds of you hitting them are not very high. So I'm trying to put the sneak on, see if I can get a shot on one of these guys. And I take a longer shot on that guy. And I did not feel super confident because that wasn't a high percentage shot. It was a little bit of what I would say is questionable decision. But I've been nailing them with this gun, so it was worth a shot for me, and I got a solid carp right there. Not a giant. There's really not many giants in this lake, actually. We're up at like 8,000 feet of elevation, but that is a solid common carp. Seth gave me his gun because he thought it was hitting high, so I took it out, and first drop here, see a nice carp, forget there's a safety, and drill it. Just to show him that the gun is hitting right on. It might have been a little high, but had to shoot his gun for a bit to see what I could hit and make sure that it's hitting on so it's not just messing up for him. And I see another one, so I'm taking another shot with this gun and drop down. Oh. Alright, breathe up. And then I take the drop on him. Slow and steady. Forget there's a safety again, and boom. Another good shot on a common carp, but then there's another guy right there, and that was it for day 1.
What up? We got the kayaks today. We're gonna take them out, see if we can find some spots we can find some more fish. It's 4th of July weekend, so it's been pretty pressured, but we'll see what we can get. No, it's a kite.
That's not a kite.
Yes, it is. All right, spot number 1. He just learned that a kite is a bird, but we paddled across the lake. Let's see what we can find.
Right when I jumped in the water, I shot a brown trout, so that's what's on my gun right now. We actually forgot the buoy. And then a common carp swims right in front of me, and I take questionable shot, but I end up landing this guy. He was not as sideways as I usually like to shoot, but ended up with a good solid holding shot through the side. It would have been a meat shot if it was an edible fish, but it's a carp, so no big deal on that. And had to pull this guy out of the grass, but there he is. And right here I actually see one of the coolest things I've seen in the water. There is a tiger muskie in the grass. If you look there, you can see his head. These guys needed to be 40 inches, and I was just stoked to even see one, so that was cool. And right here you'll see a carp. When we were hunting in this shallow side of the lake, everything we saw was carp. There was not many sucker going around. So take a little dive to approach, and let's add another one to the gun because I don't have a buoy. And I get another solid carp on a drop here, and then I show the boat. They were actually looking for perch, so that worked out. Taking another drop. This time we moved spots, and we're actually on a little bit of a stony area. And you see a lot of chubs, some trout, and just an insane amount of life. We're looking at this spot for the tournament because we needed a perch spot so we could shoot 50 for Seth. And right here, Seth missed an easy shot on a carp. He's still hitting a little off, but he's getting used to his new gun. I take a drop, and this carp just swims right up to me and gives me an easy broadside shot. And there he is, pulling him up. The other side of the lake kind of had a steeper drop off, so it wasn't super great, but it worked out. Taking another drop here, and I just see one sleeping. Caught that sucker sleeping, and just easy unicorn shot through the head. Approached him slow so he didn't hear me coming, and put a perfect stone shot on this guy. There he is. And that is a good size sucker. Again, taking Seth's gun just to kind of mess with him a little bit, show him that it does in fact hit where you aim. And I get this carp perfectly lined up with an easy broadside shot and stick him.
It worked.
And there it is. Good size one. And here is a tiger trout, and Seth decided to show me that he knows how to hit stuff now. And he dives right below me and sticks this tiger trout right through the eye. These are a trophy fish on this lake, and I was kind of upset, but stoked at the same time because he needed a cool fish, and there it is. That was awesome. And here's his little underwater shot with a tiger trout. He's like 18-incher, just beautiful fish. Super stoked on that guy. And then I'm taking a drop here, out a little bit deeper, and we're just in basically a grass edge off to the side. I push Seth down, and he takes a long shot on a carp and just drills it. And he's getting locked in. He's ready for the tournament. He's looking for sucker though, so he was a little upset that he thought it was a sucker, but it was just a perfect shot on this carp.
It's a carp.
After letting Seth have his fun, take a drop on a sucker I see off in the distance. I just see the white fins of it. Sneak up, scare him a little, but he was a decent sized one, and I land a nice downward shot on him. This one was actually pretty good size, but there he is right there. And stoked. And then we're back here in a shallower area, some bad viz, and I see a sucker sneaking through the grass. Just a little duck dive, and then a longer shot. But I was just below the surface on this one, hardly even diving, just hunting honestly. And there he is, decent little sucker. Another sucker decided to swim by me, and there he comes, boom. And another easy shot. This one I was a little deeper, but again, just being smooth on the surface, trying to sneak up as much as I can. And these fish were presenting easy shots for me.
Hey, buddy.
So I end up landing another Utah sucker here. Just kidding, he ripped off.
Huh?
And right after I look over and see Seth holding up a decent rainbow trout.
Here, go in the water.
And this was a good shot for him. He's pretty deadly on the trout. He's getting there on the other fish, but he had, I think, 3 trout on the day with a splake, a rainbow, and a tiger. And then a few carp mixed in. So I think we're ready for when we go to Junior Worlds. Jaws coming up, so that should be sick. But that is a good sized trout, and that was actually the last fish of our trip. So that was it for the diving in Utah. We did a bunch of fishing as well, but we had an awesome time diving out there. Shot some trout, shot some suckers, shot some perch. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe.